Yo. Yo. Oh my god, sorry. Oh, it's a good stretch. What up, chat? How you guys doing today? Ay, Shibala. I'm out of water again. Wait, Weiss? Hmm. Eh? Oh. I'll up chat. Okay, what is this song? Hold up. Also, Pain, I don't know, it depends. Good news or bad news. I might not gonna do Iki Island now, but I'll tell you why. Give me a sec. Can you repeat again? Let me drink. Sorry. We are not going to play Iki Island today. After my friends convinced me not to. So, apparently, Iki Island is designed to be played anywhere, obviously, but so basically, without really knowing the spoiler of why, you just said it will give you the best experience if you beat the story and know the ending. That's their idea of it. Apparently, it have something to do that the dialogue will be more expansive. I'm not sure by that it means like maybe I'll get more dialogues if I beat the story or what. I'm not sure. But apparently the ending or the final chapter of the game will give closure to the DLC. Now, I don't know, obviously, but I'm gonna take his word for it because why I agree. It kind of makes sense because they released the expansion after the game is released, so they also keep in mind that the DLC will be playable for most people who already beat the game a couple years ago, or a year ago. I forgot when the expansion was released. So the idea is that the expansion will also be playable or enjoyable for people who already beat the game. So we'll see. And my own POV was that it makes sense that Jin just, wouldn't go away from the island. Because we realized that in the map, the Iki Island is like away from the game, from the mainland. Like it doesn't make sense that Jin would leave Tsushima to go elsewhere when Shimura needs him the most. So if we kind of combine all the theory into one, it kind of makes sense that Jin would help the island, the main island first, secure it, and then save Japan or the rest of the other area. Okay, maybe not the whole Japan, but around Tsushima. It makes more sense. But that's just my theory. Am I gonna be correct or not? I guess we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. And it's gotta be good as well for playthrough wise because we're gonna finish the main game today. Tomorrow we're gonna do Hellblade until we finish it in like 3 to 4 days, and then on the weekend we're gonna go back to finish Iki Island. Right? I think that's pretty good. I think that is a good ideas. It just makes sense. But before we go there, oh, hold up, I forgot. There you go. Is there anything on the internet that I need to catch up on? Let me say. First of all, anything new on Steam? Not really. Dude, my scroll is fucked. Ah! Okay, that was a hentai. No new releases just yet. Witcher 3 Red Kit. Oh my god. Oh shit, Rooftop Alice is coming soon. Paper Trail as well. Interesting. They finally publicly release the modding tools on Steam. That's actually crazy. Ooh. Okay. I thought I'm gonna get it. I'm kind of curious. Witcher 3 got a lot of mods, right? Eating Mike Tyson's ass. What's up, Gara? How you doing? Hold up. Why do I thought that today is Wednesday? I cannot wait for a holiday, maybe. By the way, chat, this week I'm gonna have another day off on Thursday. So, a a get ready to chill the fuck out, bruh. Get ready to chill the fuck out. We already watched that yesterday, Pain. Wait, what? Weren't you there? Eh? I forgot. Did they? I don't know. You got a week off. Fuck you. Huh? Why way too dang? Um. Guess there's no new gaming news because there's literally a couple huge games releasing in the past 2 weeks. There's actually like two games that got delayed because of this games. Like the Rogue Prince of Persia that was supposed to be played last week got delayed. What was it again? I forgot. So there's actually a couple of delay already. Understandable though. Probably was away when you watched that then. Maybe. It was a pretty good though. But alas, it's still just a trailer. Mm-mm-mm. Mm. Yeah, there are no news. Wait, what was the fucking um game showcase that's gonna happen nearby? I remember there's something. There's something's gonna happen soon. But I cannot remember. Hold up. Let me check SteamDB real quick. Where is it? Perhaps Sheila mentioned, you alright? Summer Game Fest is June 8th. That's all that the thingy thing said. I followed this SteamDB, and it tracks out all the upcoming events. The next is the Open World Survival Craft Fest, Steam Next Fest on June 11, Summer Sale, Tower Defend, Fighting Games, Rhythm Fest. Nothing really huge. I swear there's something though. I guess Skill Up did say something. See myself. Armored Core 6 lore. Dude, he even made a trailer for his fucking 5 hours shit. That's crazy, bro. The fudge.
We're close to Rubicon. Wake the dog up.
Life on Rubicon sure does suck, huh? Don't tell me you like it here.
We can't shake the enemy AC!
We'll show Raven. The Rubiconians will wallow in the ashes no more.
You got lucky at the dam, and I'm gonna prove it. You're gonna die, freelancer!
Long time no see, Walter. Looking good for a change.
Independent mercenary, why be a mere pawn? What honor is there in serving corporations that exist only to kill and plunder?
You're not afraid of anything,
Such a
are
good
you?
video. What the fuck?
You've got ID. Now you need a rep. Get their attention, 621.
Attack! Get in there, you maggots!
Who are you?
I miss this game.
I'll be the only one left to carry on the glory of Arquebus!
Corporate dog! Leave Rubicon alone!
It's all going wrong, and that AC's to blame!
Now, it's just you and me.
Code 3-1C. Sustaining heavy fire. Damn it!
Raven, a symbol of resolve. But mark my words, there will be nothing left but dying embers. Rabid dogs, you'll die together. I'm nobody's dog. Commander Michigan, everyone, they're dead. Because of you, Gun 13. You and that curse number. I won't stop. Only I can fly high enough.
Raven. You are strong. Dangerous. I will hold nothing back.
621.
Wow, 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 wow. Oh. Let me see the video real quick. Usually have an intro, right? What the fuck? You have a playthrough? Oh. "2 years of Elden Ring." Wait, where's the video? Huh? Oh my god, it's a Vadia. This is his second channel, I forgot.
Coral.
Yeah, we have the 5-hour one. It's not happening. That is crazy. I can think of how we would watch like per chapter or at least per 2 hours stream. No, like as much as I love to, watching 5 hours video just sitting and not doing anything is I cannot even do that. No matter how much I love something, I would want to take a break. So let's see the story overview real quick.
Coral is an organic substance.
It'll be like Dune. Dune is 2.5 hours. This is 5.5 hours. Ugh.
Self-propagate. Coral is an organic substance capable of self-propagation. The speed at which it proliferates is determined by the density of the colony. As such, a vacuum would provide an ideal environment to maximize coral density. However, one must not overlook the signs of mutation within the coral brought about by this density effect. It is mutations such as these that will bring about a collapse that humanity has no hope of controlling. Assistant number 1 has lost his mind. His research has utterly consumed him.
Yeah, but not today.
Granted,
Today
there may be
we're gonna
some
watch.
logic to
We're gonna
single
finish
sensory
Ghost of Tsushima.
augmentation on human subjects, but no ethical scholar would ever dare cross that point of no return. Mankind is driven mad by possibilities. What does coral represent,
Holy
if not sheer
shit.
potential? I've decided that assistant number 1's son is to remain at the lab. He's a reticent one, tough too, beyond his years. And now, our research has robbed him of his mother and driven his father mad. He has every right to hate me. Perhaps assistant number 2 will be able to help. She does seem to have a knack for assembling toys. I hope that at least she can give him something to smile about. No. The coral tide is rising at an abnormal rate. This resonance, it suggests some kind of mutation. Run the calculations. How much time do we have? 47 hours, 2 minutes, 16 seconds. We still have time. Deploy Ibis. There is no averting the ruin that awaits both the Institute and Rubicon itself. I must now concern myself with what follows. The data show signs of wave mutation. Observation must continue. Assistant number 2 is our only remaining hope. Though it pains me, I have no choice but to pass the legacy of our sins onto her. My own student.
Our sin.
12 minutes remain.
What?
I have done all that I must. I alone shall bear the burden of watching the fires of Ibis burn. Whatever future awaits the boy, I hope he grows into a man strong enough to seize it. I have friends in the Jupiter colonies. Surely they will look after him.
Is that our dad's guy, Walter's friend? The guy that he said, like, you know, the one that died creating this idea. I remember Walter, like, literally the only reason he's doing all of this shit in the plot was because it's his friend's dying wish kind of shit.
So what you just heard were the leftover voice logs of Professor Nagai, who was the head of the Rubicon Research Institute, which brought about the fires of Ibis. So much lore is easily missed in Armored Core 6, and in this video we'll go over every data log, every secret, and every ending. with special time dedicated to showcasing the most cinematic moments this game has to offer. In a moment, we'll start going over every mission in the game, in order. But first, let's set the stage. The game takes place on the planet ISB 2262 Rubicon 3, a planet on the very frontier of developed space. And this planet is special because it's here that the substance called coral was discovered. Coral is many things. It's an infinite energy resource. It's a data conduit. It's a drug. It's food. It's
The
a
spice.
lethal contaminant. It's organic.
Dune.
And given the right conditions, it's also extremely flammable. But I think what's really important to point out, especially at this early stage in the timeline, is that coral is only these things to humans. Before them, it was simply a stable substance contained on a peaceful planet for an untold period of time. And without humans, it probably would have remained that way. Alas, humans eventually settled onto Rubicon. Here, they began to research the coral, building cities, and having children who would be born Rubiconian. All things that slowly set the events of Armored Core 6 into motion. At the heart of coral research were the Rubicon Research Institute, which quickly set up infrastructure across the planet. Much of what they built had military applications, though their primary goal was clearly research of the coral. Their discoveries were poised to transform human society by leaps and bounds, and they even began to introduce the coral to human subjects, using pulse technologies to augment the human brain and enhance the senses. These were the first generations of augmented humans, and in these days, very few survived that process. But those that did were given a generational coral designation, C1 to C4, followed by an ID number, and after this, many of them were clearly put into cold storage for who knows how long. But then, half a century before 621 would crash land on Rubicon, the coral was ignited. A storm of flame, dubbed the Fires of Ibis, tore through not just Rubicon, but the surrounding star systems, and coral, the kindling, was thought to have been utterly consumed and forever lost. When the ashes had cooled, an interstellar corporation known as the PCA, the Planetary Closure Administration, sent personnel who worked to seal off the planet. Interstellar travel. It seems to be this slow and/or expensive affair in AC6, so rather than transport everything they needed to Rubicon, bases were set up amidst the ashes on Rubicon instead. Here, the PCA began the construction of an array of AI-powered stations, satellites, and cannons around the contaminated planet to ensure humanity would never venture back. And outside of Rubicon, life went on. We know very little of interstellar events in this universe, but we do know that there have been wars across Earth's solar system, and we know armored core units have featured in these wars, piloted by independent mercenaries and pilots who serve at the whims of interstellar corporations like Balaam, Arquebus, and many other corporations besides. Though, for whatever reason, these corporations hadn't yet infiltrated Rubicon 3, even before the Fires of Ibis apparently, when the Rubicon Research Institute were making their discoveries about the coral. Perhaps Rubicon 3 was too far away for the corporations, or perhaps the PCA's interstellar influence kept them at bay. Maybe word of the coral's benefits hadn't reached them yet. Or maybe the corporations just hadn't put plans in place. We just don't know. These are all the corporations we know of, each with their own character and goals, and I'll detail them properly across the missions to follow. As for the PCA, well, they discovered something while setting up the closure system, and it was that the coral hadn't been entirely wiped out. Not only that, but they discovered that some humans had survived the fires as well. These humans were dubbed Cinders, and they were a part of a culture of native Rubiconians who had been rebuilding with infrastructure and technology of their own. Even though they had this closure system built or being built around them. Inevitably, though, it was leaked. that the coral was still on the planet, and before long a PCA station was attacked in orbit. A way onto the planet had suddenly been opened, and the race to claim the coral had begun. By this point, all knew of coral's potential, and any political risk of traveling there was clearly outweighed by the sheer benefits that such a sublime substance had to offer. So humanity would eventually return to stoke the fire. But hiding in the ashes from the fires of Ibis was an organization called Overseer, an association of observers who were tasked with monitoring the coral's growth, ready to burn it all again when the time came. And one of the members of Overseer was a man named Handler Walter.
Walter!
Which brings us to the current age. From this point onwards, I'd like to go through things mission by mission, and in this way I hope to extrapolate full lore context for pretty much every single thing that you might have missed as you played through the game.
Handler Walter verified.
We're close to Rubicon. Wake the dog up.
All right. Hmm. 2.5 hours, man. That is crazy though. 5 hours and 30 minutes. To be fair, this game is equivalent to Nier Automata because you cannot really beat the game with one ending. That's the problem. Like, you wouldn't understand the entire context of the plot by just finishing it once. Which is, makes sense considering the game is about replayability. Like, the replayability aspect of the game is just maximum. So they just kind of take advantage of that by, you know what? If you're gonna do NG plus, you're gonna know more about what is going on. So you're gonna have more fun with more unlocked gears, but at the same time, we will also give you more in-depth story. Dude, the fact that this is not even directed by Miyazaki himself. This was directed by the Sekiro guy. I keep forgetting his name. That is crazy. Wow. I miss Armored Core. I'm not gonna lie. I had such a good time. I might come back to it sometime in the future. Might, could just like go through NG plus and see what's up. You gotta beat the game 3 times, right? 3 or 4 times, I forgot, to get to the final ending. For Gore. Gore's movie watch party of Vati soon. Yeah. See? NG plus, so 3. Okay. It's not that bad, but it's definitely gonna take a while. Considering it took me 35 hours to beat the first ending. Obviously, second and third, it's not, especially second. If the difficulty gonna be the similar as Dark Souls, I don't know about Elden Ring. NG plus is gonna be a breeze because you're gonna be OP for the the entirety of the game, except the final parts. NG plus 2, which means third game, gotta be still kind of easy. It's like in Dark Souls 1, I remember the game start picking up difficulty on NG plus 4. And in Dark Souls 3 is on NG plus 3. Or NG plus 5, I forgot. Or was that Dark Souls 2? I forgot. But yeah. Yeah, we're gonna watch this at some point. I don't know when, but you know. I can fail this mission. He fails the mission. uh Honestly, if I don't have work, you know, I wouldn't mind watching the whole shit. This is that 5 hours is such a precious time if you do 9 to 5 almost every day. It's such a precious fucking time. Yeah. I'll schedule it sometimes. We'll see. We'll see. Cause I'm not gonna lie, I'm hyped myself. I want to see it myself. Oh wait, when is Enotria demo? Is it today? Enotria. Dude, I love this song so much. What the fuck? May 22nd. Oh, it's in 2 days. What time though? Probably Wednesday, midnight. It's kind of crazy though that sometimes I don't understand why some developer are willing to announce such a big part of the game when the game is not gonna be out until 3 months from now. Like that's quite a long time. I mean, give or take, you know, it's not huge, but you know, especially when you give out a free demo 8 hours. That is crazy. You really think about it that way. Why do we some jiggle and some tummy? Mm. Beep beep boop pew boop pew pew beep boop pew. Yeah. What the fuck is this? Extra vehicular activity EVA suit. SpaceX have a fucking trailer for their space suit? Huh?
Suit flow initiated. Stand by for dragon bending sequence.
Alright. I mean, shit. I mean, don't get me wrong, that looks pretty sci-fi. That looks pretty sick.
SpaceX is go for EVA operations.
Kind of reminds me of Mass Effect. Interesting.
This video is
It
supported by
kind of makes you
titles.
think, how the fuck NASA spacesuit looks bulky while SpaceX, you know, looks like you actually want to wear them.
3 years ago, NASA unveiled its next generation spacesuit.
Look!
Designed to allow humans to walk on the moon. But after this,
Look like a fucking golem with that shit.
everything went quiet, and the spacesuits were never seen again. It turned out NASA was 20 months behind schedule and millions of dollars over budget with the program. So, in order to get a new spacesuit developed in time for the upcoming Artemis missions, NASA set up a competition and invited other companies to design their best suit. At the time, SpaceX already had their own IVA suit, so you'd think partnering with NASA to make an EVA suit would be the next step. It turned out SpaceX had already been working on an EVA suit for years, and they wanted to go their own direction with the development, like they did with their first suit. In this video, we're going to learn how SpaceX mastered their spacesuit design and the key breakthroughs that made it possible.
I'm actually curious.
We'll also be
Let's watch
giving away
real
this
quick.
awesome Saturn V Lego set and announcing the winner of the previous giveaway. So stick around till the end of the video and find out how you can win. SpaceX began developing their first spacesuit all the way back in 2015 when it hired Hollywood costume designer Jose Fernandez.
Of course.
After several months of designing a suit that looked as sleek as possible, it was then up to the SpaceX engineers to reverse engineer it and make it functional. To be clear, this isn't the type of suit that an astronaut would wear outside on a spacewalk. This suit is primarily for keeping astronauts alive inside the spacecraft. But when you compare SpaceX's suit to other pressure suits, it looks much sleeker. How is this possible? To answer this, we need to look at how spacesuits are normally designed. Spacesuits have traditionally been a one-size-fits-all type of thing, since they are very expensive to make. On the ISS, the EVA suit is modular, but in general, nothing is made to fit. This is where SpaceX excelled. Each suit they make is completely custom-made to fit the shape of each crew member. This has the obvious benefit of creating a much tighter fit, but the benefits go much further than that. One of the biggest problems when it comes to designing a spacesuit is mobility. When the suit is pressurized, it inflates like a giant balloon, making it extremely rigid and stiff. When an astronaut tries to bend their joint, the overall volume of the suit is reduced. Since the suit is completely sealed, the air has nowhere to go, and so bending the joint compresses the air, creating a lot of resistance for the astronaut. Spacesuit designers over the years have come up with many different ways to tackle this problem. For larger joints like wrist and shoulders, mechanical bearings are used to allow movement without changing the volume. For smaller joints like the fingers, rubber pleats are placed all the way down the back, forcing the glove to bend in an arc. This isn't very natural since our fingers don't bend like that. Depending on your shape, the joints in your suit may not align with the joints in your body. This could limit your range of motion and require more force to bend each joint. Since each SpaceX suit is tailor-made, these joints can be replaced with smaller ones that line up perfectly with the joints of each astronaut. But even with a custom-made suit, bending a sealed tube full of air is very difficult. That's why every joint on the SpaceX suit is strengthened with these crisscross tensioners, which help the astronaut bend the joint inwards. Then the pressure of the suit naturally helps the astronaut extend the joint back to its initial position. This is sort of similar to how a spider's leg works. They only have a muscle to flex their limbs inward, and so they rely on hydraulic pressure stored inside their body to extend their limbs outward again. Another way to improve mobility is to simply have less air in the suit itself. The space shuttle suit operated at a pressure of 24 kilopascals, just a quarter of the pressure we experience here on Earth. Lowering the pressure may help with mobility, but it puts the astronaut at risk of getting decompression sickness. This is where the lower pressure inside the suit causes nitrogen in the body to dissolve and form bubbles in the blood vessels. Deep-sea divers face the same problem when they come back up to the surface, as they quickly go from a high-pressure environment to a much lower-pressure environment. This can be a potentially fatal problem, and many spacesuits require the astronaut to do pre-breathing before suiting up. This involves breathing pure oxygen for several hours before wearing the spacesuit, in order to get rid of all the nitrogen in the bloodstream. SpaceX didn't want to complicate the process, and so choosing a pressure for the suit was a constant fight between safety and mobility. SpaceX's suit had to meet NASA's minimum requirements of 40 kilopascals to avoid decompression sickness. This is quite high compared to other spacesuits, so we can assume that SpaceX didn't go much higher than that. The air we breathe on Earth is a mixture of 21% oxygen and 78% nitrogen. But since the pressure inside the suit is lower, the astronauts wouldn't get a sufficient amount of oxygen. Some suits tackle this by making the air inside the suit pure oxygen. The SpaceX suits use a custom air mixture with a higher percentage of oxygen that can be varied automatically by the onboard life support system. But it's how this pressure is managed that makes SpaceX's suit even more impressive. Spacesuits typically have multiple valves and pipes on the outside to control the suit's pressure and temperature. SpaceX managed to combine all of these down into just one single port with a hole for air circulation, a power and communications connector, and a port to quickly inflate the suit during an emergency.
That's
An umbilical
crazy.
cord connects the suit directly to the astronaut's seat. This is where the real magic happens. Here, there are a series of solenoid valves that automatically control the pressure of the incoming air. A separate valve in the spacecraft allows chilled nitrox to flow into the suit's air duct, keeping the suits cool during re-entry. The pressure and temperature sensors inside the helmet feed the spacecraft with information, allowing it to automate the process. This level of automation took away the need for astronauts to manually adjust their suit pressure, allowing the designers to get rid of the bulky valves on the outside of the suit. Not only did this make the suit much lighter than the space shuttle suit, but it also made it much easier to put on. On the space shuttle suits, the helmet, gloves, and headset were all attached separately using bulky metal rings. On the SpaceX suit, the gloves and helmet are already attached, and the headset is integrated into the helmet. All of this means that an astronaut can suit up all by themselves in just a few minutes.
Wow.
The space shuttle suit, on the other hand, took more than 20 minutes and required help from several technicians. The SpaceX astronauts may not need any help in this department, but maybe you need help buying Christmas gifts this year. You could make your friend or loved one feel really special by making them a lord or lady this Christmas. Established titles is a fun and novel way to preserve.
I thought this one was a scam. Is it not? I swear to God, I heard from some YouTuber it was a scam.
And now, for the moment you've all been waiting for. The winner of this awesome Space Shuttle Lego set is Sarah Hambrick. Congratulations, there is now a space shuttle on its way to your house. Sorry if you didn't win,
Sarah.
but don't worry. After such a great response on the last video, we want to do another giveaway.
Relax. Relax, man. There's this one other thing. I don't know if this is good length. Wait, what is this? Oh yeah. Wait, hold up. Check this one out first.
Outside of Toronto in Canada is the tiny Crawford Lake. It's a rare body of water known as a meromictic lake. For its small size at roughly 270 meters across, it is deep at 23 meters. That means the sides slope dramatically downwards, and the water at the bottom doesn't mix with the water at the top, making the sediment underneath extraordinarily well preserved. It's this unique quality that attracted scientists in 2023 to dig up a sediment sample from the lake. This core sample contained clues to centuries of human history, and they hoped it would answer a big question. Had humans created such a profound impact on our planet that it had created a new phase in geologic time? Are we now living in what some scientists call the Anthropocene?
What the fuck? Where are the aliens? Wait, hold up. Ate. Hold up. Wanna relax? Relax. Okay? Swear to God. Hey, relax. Hey, what did I tell you? What did I tell you? I'm watching you. I swear to God, if you pee in my fucking room again. Is playing with the fold of my bed sheet. What's this?
This is a video about avalanches. What they are, what causes them, how...
Oh, wait. Oh, right. This video. Let's watch this first, because I'm kind of curious with this one.
You can never see anything enter a black hole. Imagine you trap your nemesis in a rocket ship and blast him off towards a black hole. He looks back at you, shaking his fist at a constant rate. As he zooms in, gravity gets stronger, so you would expect him to speed up. But that is not what you see. Instead, the rocket ship appears to be slowing down. Not only that, he also appears to be shaking his fist slower and slower. That's because, from your perspective, his time is slowing down. At the very instant when he should cross the event horizon, the point beyond which not even light can escape, he and his rocket ship do not disappear. Instead, they seem to stop, frozen in time. The light from the spaceship gets dimmer and redder until it completely fades from view. This is how any object would look crossing the event horizon. Light is still coming from the point where he crossed, it's just too redshifted to see.
That's kind of creepy, what the fuck?
But if you could see that light, then in theory you would see everything that has ever fallen into the black hole frozen on its horizon, including the star that formed it. But in practice, photons are emitted at discrete intervals, so there will be a last photon emitted outside the horizon, and therefore these images will fade after some time. This is just one of the strange results that comes out of the general theory of relativity, our current best theory of gravity. The first solution of Einstein's equations predicted not only black holes, but also their opposite, white holes. It also implied the existence of parallel universes,
the white holes?
Even possibly a way to travel between them. This is a video about the real science of black holes, white holes, and wormholes.
Rex, be nice.
The general theory of relativity arose at least in part due to a fundamental flaw in Newtonian gravity. In the 1600s, Isaac Newton contemplated how an apple falls to the ground, how the moon orbits the Earth and Earth orbits the sun, and he concluded that every object with mass must attract every other. But Newton was troubled by his own theory. How could masses separated by such vast distances apply a force on each other? He wrote that one body may act upon another at a distance through a vacuum without the mediation of anything else is to me so great an absurdity that I believe no man who has a competent faculty of thinking could ever fall into it. One man who definitely had a competent faculty of thinking was Albert Einstein.
Ooh.
And over 200 years later, he figured out how gravity is mediated.
What?
Bodies do not exert forces on each other directly. Instead, a mass like the sun curves the space-time in its immediate vicinity. This then curves the space-time around it, and so on all the way to the Earth. So the Earth orbits the sun because the space-time Earth is passing through is curved. Masses are affected by the local curvature of space-time, so no action at a distance is required. Mathematically, this is described by Einstein's field equations. Can you write down the Einstein field equation?
This was the result of Einstein's decade of hard work after special relativity.
Yes.
And essentially what we've got in the field equations, on one side it says, tell me about the distribution of matter and energy. The other side tells you what the resultant curvature of space-time is from that distribution of matter and energy. And it's a single line. It looks like, oh, this is a simple equation, right? But it's not really one equation. It's a family of equations. And to make life more difficult, they are coupled equations, so they depend upon each other. And they are differential equations, so it means that there are integrals that have to be done, So there's a whole bunch of steps that you need to do to solve the field equations.
To see what a solution to these equations would look like, we need a tool to understand space-time. So imagine you're floating around in empty space. A flash of light goes off above your head and spreads out in all directions. Now, your entire future, anything that can and will ever happen to you, will occur within this bubble, because the only way to get out of it would be to travel faster than light. In 2 dimensions, this bubble is just a growing circle. If we allow time to run up the screen and take snapshots at regular intervals, then this light bubble traces out a cone, your future light cone. By convention, the axes are scaled so that light rays always travel at 45 degrees. This cone reveals the only region of spacetime that you can ever hope to explore and influence. Now imagine that instead of a flash of light above your head, those photons were actually traveling in from all corners of the universe, and they met at that instant and then continued traveling on in their separate directions. Well, in that case, then into the past, these photons also reveal a light cone, your past light cone. Only events that happened inside this cone could have affected you up to the present moment. We can simplify this diagram even further by plotting just one spatial and one time dimension. This is the spacetime diagram of empty space. If you want to measure how far apart 2 events are in spacetime, you use something called the spacetime interval. The interval squared is equal to minus dt squared plus dx squared. Since spacetime is flat, the geometry is the same everywhere, and so this formula holds throughout the entire diagram, which makes it really easy to measure the separation between any 2 events.
True.
But around a mass, spacetime is curved, and therefore you need to modify the equation to take into account the geometry. This is what solutions to Einstein's equations are like. They tell you how spacetime curves and how to measure the separation between 2 events in that curved geometry. Einstein published his equations in 1915 during the First World War, but he couldn't find an exact solution. Luckily, a copy of his paper made its way to the Eastern Front, where Germany was fighting Russia. Stationed there was one of the best astrophysicists of the time, Karl Schwarzschild. Despite being 41 years old, he had volunteered to calculate artillery trajectories for the German army.
Damn.
At least until a greater challenge caught his attention: how to solve Einstein's field equations. Schwarzschild did the standard physicist thing and imagined the simplest possible scenario: an eternal static universe with nothing in it except a single spherically symmetric point mass. This mass was electrically neutral and not rotating. Since this was the only feature of his universe, he measured everything using spherical coordinates relative to the center of this mass. So r is the radius, and theta and phi give the angles. For his time coordinate, he chose time as being measured by someone far away from the mass, where spacetime is essentially flat. Using this approach, Schwarzschild found the first non-trivial solution to Einstein's equations, which nowadays we write like this. This Schwarzschild metric describes how spacetime curves outside of the mass. It's pretty simple and makes intuitive sense. Far away from the mass, spacetime is nearly flat, but as you get closer and closer to it, spacetime becomes more and more curved, it attracts objects in, and time runs slower.
Makes sense.
Schwarzschild sent his solution to Einstein, concluding with, "The war treated me kindly enough, in spite of the heavy gunfire, to allow me to get away from it all and take this walk in the land of your ideas." Einstein replied, "I have read your paper with the utmost interest. I had not expected that one could formulate the exact solution to the problem in such a simple way." But what seemed at first quite simple soon became more complicated. Shortly after Schwarzschild's solution was published, people noticed 2 problem spots. At the center of the mass, at r equals 0, this term is divided by 0, so it blows up to infinity, and therefore this equation breaks down and it can no longer describe what's physically happening. This is what's called a singularity.
True.
Maybe that point could be excused because it's in the middle of the mass, but there's another problem spot outside of it. At a special distance from the center, known as the Schwarzschild radius, this term blows up. So there is a second singularity. What is going on here? At the Schwarzschild radius, the spacetime curvature becomes so steep that the escape velocity, the speed that anything would need to leave there, is the speed of light. And that would mean that inside the Schwarzschild radius, nothing, not even light, would be able to escape. So you'd have this dark object that swallows up matter and light. A black hole, if you will.
But most scientists doubted that such an object could exist because it would require a lot of mass to collapse down into a tiny space.
How could that possibly ever happen? Astronomers at the time were studying what happens at the end of a star's life. During its lifetime, the inward force of gravity is balanced by the outward radiation pressure created by the energy released through nuclear fusion. But when the fuel runs out, the radiation pressure drops, so gravity pulls all the star material inwards. But how far? Most astronomers believed some physical process would hold it up. And in 1926, Ralph Fowler came up with a possible mechanism. Pauli's exclusion principle states that fermions, like electrons, cannot occupy the same state. So as matter gets pushed closer and closer together, the electrons each occupy their own tiny volumes. But Heisenberg's uncertainty principle says that you can't know the position and momentum of a particle with absolute certainty. So, as the particles become more and more constrained in space, the uncertainty in their momentum, and hence their velocity, must go up. So the more a star is compressed, the faster electrons will wiggle around, and that creates
Can you guys hear Latte? So loud.
This electron degeneracy pressure would prevent the star from collapsing completely. Instead, it would form a white dwarf with a density much higher than a normal star. And remarkably enough, astronomers had observed stars that fit this description. One of them was Sirius B. But the relief from this discovery was short-lived. 4 years later, 19-year-old Subramanian Chandrasekhar traveled by boat to England to study with Fowler and Arthur Eddington, one of the most revered scientists at the time. During his voyage, Chandrasekhar realized that electron degeneracy pressure has its limits. Electrons can wiggle faster and faster, but only up to the speed of light. That means this effect can only support stars up to a certain mass, the Chandrasekhar limit. Beyond this, Chandrasekhar believed not even electron degeneracy pressure could prevent a star from collapsing. But Eddington was not impressed. He publicly blasted Chandrasekhar, saying, "There should be a law of nature to prevent a star from behaving in this absurd way."
And indeed, scientists did discover a way that stars heavier than the Chandrasekhar limit could support themselves.
When a star collapses beyond a white dwarf, electrons and protons fuse together to form neutrinos and neutrons. These neutrons are also fermions, but with nearly 2,000 times the mass of an electron, their degeneracy pressure is even stronger. So this is what holds up neutron stars.
There was this conviction among scientists that even if we didn't know the mechanism, something would prevent a star from collapsing into a single point and forming a black hole. Because black holes were just too preposterous to be real.
Dude, the visual in this video is so cool.
Came in the late 1930s
Oppenheimer!
when Robert Oppenheimer and George Volkoff found that neutron stars also have a maximum mass. Shortly after, Oppenheimer and Hartland Snyder showed that for the heaviest stars, there is nothing left to save them when their fuel runs out. They wrote, "This contraction will continue indefinitely." But Einstein still couldn't believe it. Oppenheimer was saying that stars can collapse indefinitely, but when Einstein looked at the math, he found that time freezes on the horizon, so it seemed like nothing could ever enter, which suggested that either there's something we don't understand, or that black holes can't exist.
But Oppenheimer offered a solution to the problem. He said, to an outside observer, you could never see anything go in, but if you were traveling across the event horizon, you wouldn't notice anything unusual, and you'd go right past it without even knowing it. So how is this possible?
We need a space-time diagram of a black hole. On the left is the singularity at r equals 0. The dotted line at r equals 2m is the event horizon.
We have 10 minutes
Since
left.
the black hole doesn't
Let's
move,
double the speed.
these lines go straight up in time.
Just English?
Now, let's see how ingoing and outgoing light rays travel in this curved geometry. When you're really far away, the future light cones are at the usual 45 degrees. But as you get closer to the horizon, the light cones get narrower and narrower, until right at the event horizon, they're so narrow that they point straight up. And inside the horizon, the light cones tip to the left. But something strange happens with ingoing light rays.
They fall in, but they don't get to r equals 2m. They actually asymptote to that value as time goes to infinity. But they don't end at infinity, right? Mathematically, they are connected and come back in, and they're traveling in this direction. And this bothered a lot of people. This bothered people like Einstein, because he looked at these equations and went, well, if nothing can cross this sort of boundary, then how could there be black holes? How could black holes even form?
So what is going on here? Well, what's important to recognize is that this diagram is a projection. It's basically a 2D map of 4-dimensional curved spacetime.
It's just like projecting the 3D Earth onto a 2D map. When you do that, you always get distortions. There is no perfectly accurate way to map the Earth onto a 2D surface, but different maps can be useful for different purposes. For example, if you want to keep angles and shapes the same, like if you're sailing across the ocean and you need to find your bearings, you can use the Mercator projection. That's the one Google Maps uses. A downside is that it misrepresents sizes. Africa and Greenland look about the same size, but Africa is actually around 14 times larger. The Gall-Peters projection keeps relative sizes accurate, but as a result, angles and shapes are distorted.
In a similar way, we can make different projections of 4D spacetime to study different properties of it. Physical reality doesn't change, but the way the map describes it does.
He had chosen to put a particular coordinate system over space and have a time coordinate, and off you go. It's the most sensible thing to do, right?
People realize that if you choose a different coordinate system by doing a coordinate substitution, then the singularity at the event horizon disappears.
It goes away, that problem goes away, and things can actually cross into the black hole.
What this tells us is that there is no real physical singularity at the event horizon. It just resulted from a poor choice of coordinate system. Another way to visualize what's going on is by describing space as flowing in towards the black hole, like a waterfall. As you get closer, space starts flowing in faster and faster. Photons emitted by the spaceship have to swim against this flow, and this becomes harder and harder the closer you get. Photons emitted just outside the horizon can barely make it out, but it takes longer and longer. At the horizon, space falls in as fast as the photons are swimming. So if the horizon had a finite width, then photons would get stuck here, photons from everything that ever fell in. But the horizon is infinitely thin, so in reality, photons either eventually escape or fall in. Inside the horizon, space falls faster than the speed of light, and so everything falls into the singularity. So Oppenheimer was right. Someone outside a black hole can never see anything enter, because the last photons they can see will always be from just outside the horizon. But if you yourself go, you will fall right across the event horizon and into the singularity.
Now, you can extend the waterfall model to cover all 3 spatial dimensions, and that gives you this, a real simulation of space flowing into a static black hole, made by my friend Alessandro from Science Click. Later, we'll use this model to see what it's like falling into a rotating black hole. Now, I've never been sucked into a black hole, but sometimes it feels like it when I'm stuck on the phone with a spam caller. Fortunately, today's sponsor, Incogni, can help. You know, I used to get several spam calls a day, and they frustrated me so much that the this road right here.
And since the future always points up in this map,
maps.
If you take this map and transform it so that incoming and outgoing light rays all travel at 45 degrees like we're used to, then something fascinating happens. The black hole singularity on the left transforms into a curved line at the top. And since the future always points up in this map, it tells us that the singularity is not actually a place in space, instead it's a moment in time. The very last moment in time for anything that enters a black hole. The map we've just created is a Kruskal-Zeckers diagram. But this only represents a portion of the universe, the part inside the black hole's event horizon and the part of the universe closest to it. But what we can do is contract the whole universe, the infinite past, infinite distant, and infinite future, and morph it into a single map. It's like using the universe's best fisheye lens. That gives us this Penrose diagram. Again, light rays still always go at 45 degrees, so the future always points up. The infinite past is in the bottom of the diagram, the infinite future at the top, and the sides on the right are infinitely far away. The black hole singularity is now a straight line at the top, a final moment in time. These lines are all at the same distance from the black hole. So the singularity is at r equals 0, the horizon is at r equals 2m, this line is at r equals 4m, and this is infinitely far away. All of these lines are at the same time.
What's great about this map is that it's very easy to see where you can still go and what could have affected you.
For example, when you're here, you've got a lot of freedom. You can enter the black hole or fly off to infinity. And you can see and receive information from this area. But if you go beyond the horizon, your only possible future is to meet the singularity. You can still, however, see and receive information from the universe. You just can't send any back out. Now, think about being at this point in the map. This is at the event horizon, and now your entire future is within the black hole. But what is the past of this moment? Well, you can draw the past light cone, and it reveals this new region. If you're inside this region, you can send signals to the universe, but no matter where you are in the universe, nothing can ever enter this region, because it will never be inside your light cone. So things can come out, but never go in. This is the opposite of a black hole, a white hole.
Okay.
What color is a white hole? I mean, it's going to be it's not going to have a color, right? It's going to be whatever's being spat out of it. It depends what's in there and gets thrown out. That's what you are going to see. So if it's got light in there, it's got mass in there, it's all going to be ejected. So the white hole kind of picture is the time reverse picture of a black hole. Instead of things falling in, things get expelled outwards. And so whilst a black hole has a membrane, the Schwarzschild horizon, which once you cross, you can't get back out, the white hole has the opposite. If you're inside the event horizon, you have to be ejected. So it kicks you out kind of thing, right? Relativity doesn't tell you which way time flows. There's nothing in there that says that is the future and that is the past. When you're doing your mathematics and you're working out the behavior of objects, you make a choice about which direction is the future. But mathematically, you could have chosen the other way, right? You could have had time.
I heard a bang on my roof. Hey! I think it's the fox. Because we saw some fox in our backyard a couple times. Might have some nest up there. Huh.
Point in the opposite direction. Any solution that you find in relativity, mathematically, you can just flip it and get a time reverse solution, and that's also a solution to the equations.
Now, we've been showing things being ejected to the right, but they could just as well be ejected to the left. So what's over there? This line is not at infinity, so there should be something beyond it. If we eject things in this direction, you find that they enter a whole new universe, one parallel to our own.
Oh my god! Multiverse!
We could fall into this black hole, and somebody in this universe here could fall into this black hole in their universe, and we would find ourselves in the same black hole.
The only downside is that we'd both soon end up in the singularity. I guess I'm just trying to understand where that universe appears in the mathematical part of the solution. Like, can you point to the part of the equation and be like, so that's our universe, and then these terms here, that's the other universe, or... Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, it's coordinates, right? Imagine somebody, right, came up with a coordinate system for the Earth, but only the northern hemisphere. And you looked at that coordinate system, right? And you looked at it and you said, I can see the coordinate system looks fine, but mathematically, latitudes can be negative, right? You've only got positive latitudes in your solution. What about the negative ones? And they said to you, negative ones? No southern hemisphere, right? And you've got to go, well, the mathematics says that you can have negative latitudes. Maybe we should go and look over the equator to see if there is something down there. And I know that's a kind of extreme example because we know we live on a globe, but we don't know the full geometry of what's going on here in the sense that Schwarzschild laid down coordinates over part of the solution. It was like him only laying down coordinates on the northern hemisphere. And other people have come along and said, hey, there's a southern hemisphere. And more than that, there's two Earths. That's why it's called maximal extension. It's like, if I have this mathematical structure, then what is the extent of the coordinates that I can consider? And with the Schwarzschild black hole, you get a second universe that has its own independent set of coordinates from our universe. I want to emphasize, right? This is the simplest solution to the Einstein field equations, and it already contains a black hole, white hole, and two universes.
That's what you get when you push this map to its limits, so that every edge ends at a singularity or infinity.
And in fact, there's another little feature in here, which is that little point there where they cross. That is an Einstein-Rosen bridge.
To see it, we need to change coordinates. Now, this line is at constant Kruskal time, and it connects the space of both universes. You can see what the spacetime is like by following this line from right to left. Far away from the event horizon, spacetime is basically flat, but as you get closer to the event horizon, spacetime starts to curve more and more. At this cross, you're at the event horizon, and if you go beyond it, you end up in the parallel universe. That gives you a wormhole that looks like this.
Oh.
So that is hypothetically how we could use a black hole to travel from one universe to another.
Hypothetically, because these wormholes aren't actually stable in time.
It's a bit like a bridge, but it's a bridge that is long and then becomes shorter and then becomes long again. And if you try to traverse this bridge, at some point the bridge is only very short, right? And you say, well, let me just cross this bridge. But as you start crossing the bridge and start running, your speed is finite, right? The speed of light, roughly. And then the bridge starts becoming stretching, and you never come out the other side.
This pinching off always happens too fast for anything to travel through. You can also see this if you look at the Penrose diagram, because when you're inside one universe, there isn't a light cone that can take you to the other universe. The only way to do that would be to travel faster than light.
But there might be another way.
Schwarzschild's solution describes a black hole that doesn't rotate. Yet every star does rotate, and since angular momentum must be conserved, every black hole must also be rotating. While Schwarzschild found his solution within weeks after Einstein published his equations, solving them for a spinning mass turned out to be much harder. Physicists tried, but 10 years after Schwarzschild's solution, they still hadn't solved it. 10 years turned into 20, which turned into 40, and then in 1963, Roy Kerr found the solution to Einstein's equations for a spinning black hole.
which is far more complicated than Schwarzschild solution. And this comes with a few dramatic changes. The first is that the structure is completely different. The black hole now consists of several layers. It's also not spherically symmetric anymore. This happens because the rotation causes it to bulge around the equator, so it's only symmetric about its axis of spin. Alessandro from ScienceClick simulated what happens around this spinning black hole. Space gets dragged around with the black hole, taking you and the particles along with it. When you get closer, space gets dragged around faster and faster, until it goes around faster than the speed of light. You've now entered into the first new region, the ergosphere. No matter how hard you fire your rockets here, it's impossible to stay still relative to distant stars. But because space doesn't flow directly inward, you can still escape the black hole. When you travel in further, you go through the next layer, the outer horizon, the point of no return. Here, you can only go inwards. But as you get dragged in deeper and deeper, something crazy happens. You enter another region, one where you can move around freely again. So you're not doomed to the singularity. You're now inside the inner event horizon. Here, you can actually see the singularity.
In a normal black hole, it's a point. But in a rotating black hole, it actually expands out to be a ring. And there are weird things happen with space-time inside the center of a black hole, a rotating black hole, but it's thought that you can actually fly through the singularity.
We need a Penrose diagram of a spinning black hole. Where before the singularity was a horizontal line at the top, here the singularity lifts up and moves to the sides, revealing this new region inside the inner horizon.
Oh my
Here
god.
you can move around freely and avoid the singularity. But these edges aren't at infinity or a singularity, so there must be something beyond them. Well, when you venture further, you could find yourself in a white hole, which would push you out into a whole nother universe.
You can have these pictures whereby you're in one universe, you fall into a rotating black hole, you fly through the singularity, and you pop out into a new universe from a white hole. And then you can just continue playing this game.
Extending this diagram infinitely far. But there is still one thing we haven't done, brave the singularity. So you aim straight towards the center of the ring and head off towards it. But rather than time ending, you now find yourself in another universe.
A strange universe, one where gravity pushes instead of pulls. This is known as an antiverse.
If that's too weird, you can always jump back across the singularity and return to a universe with normal gravity.
And I know this is basically science fiction, right? But if you take the solutions of relativity at, essentially at face value and add on a little bit, which is what Penrose does here, it says, oh look, these shapes are very similar, I can just stick these together, then this is the conclusion that you get. Now we have effectively an infinite number of universes, all connected with black hole, white holes, all the way through.
Oh my
god.
Yeah, this
is
fun.
It'll be a very brave person who's the first one who's going to leap into a rotating black hole to find out if this is correct.
Yeah, true. I would not sign up for that. So could these maximally extended Schwarzschild and Kerr solutions actually exist in nature? Well, there are some issues. Both the extended Schwarzschild and Kerr solutions are solutions of eternal black holes in an empty universe.
As you say, it's an eternal solution. So it stretches infinitely far into the past and infinitely far into the future. And so there's no formation mechanism in there. It's just a static solution. And I think that is part of the reason why black holes are realized in our universe and white holes aren't.
Or might not be.
Or might not be. Well, I'm reasonably confident that they don't exist, right?
For the maximally extended Kerr solution, there's also another problem. If you're an immortal astronaut inside the universe, you can send light into the black hole. But because there's infinite time compressed in this top corner, you can pile up light along this edge, which creates an infinite flux of energy along the inner horizon. This concentration of energy then creates its own singularity, sealing off the ring singularity and beyond.
My suspicion, and the suspicion of some other people in the field, is that this inner horizon will become singular and you will not be able to go through these second copies.
So all the white holes, wormholes, other universes, and anti-universes disappear. Does that mean that real wormholes are impossible?
In 1987, Michael Morris and Kip Thorne looked at wormholes that an advanced civilization could use for interstellar travel. Ones that have no horizons, so you can travel back and forth, are stable in time, and have some other properties, like being able to construct them. They found several geometries that are allowed by Einstein's general relativity. In theory, these could connect different parts of the universe, making a sort of interstellar highway. They might even be able to connect two different universes. The only problem is that all these geometries require an exotic kind of matter with a negative energy density to prevent the wormhole from collapsing.
This exotic kind of matter is really against the laws of physics, so I have the prejudice that it will not exist. I'm bothered by the fact that we say that the science fiction wormholes are mathematically possible. It's true, it's mathematically possible in the sense that it's some geometry that can exist, but Einstein's theory is not just geometries. It's geometries plus field equations. If you use the kinds of properties of matter that matter actually has, then they're not possible. So I feel that the reason they're not possible is very strong.
So according to our current best understanding, it seems likely that white holes, traversable wormholes, and these parallel universes don't exist. But we also used to think black holes didn't exist, so maybe we'll be surprised again.
I mean, we have one universe, right? Good. Why can't we have two?
Ooh.
Why can't we have two?
Why is no one making a thing about this? Yeah. This seems like a pretty cool idea for a sci-fi surrounding the foundation of black hole, white hole, and wormhole. Because so far in the sci-fi or even just like fiction in general, every time there's a multiverse or an alternate universe, they never really explain to you how do you traverse the universe. You just kind of have a wormhole or a portal. How does the fucking portal works? I don't know. You just kind of go through it. Bam. Done. It's like in the game Portal and Portal 2. Technically, you don't really understand the concept of how does it work. Like, you know, how do they even create the portal in depth? It's just some kind of a basic science that, you know, it's a wormhole, that's it. But like, how does that work? I think we need like a game or a movie that can go through that in a more in-depth. This is also maybe why a lot of people kind of like feeling meh about Interstellar. Spoiler alert for anyone's listening that haven't watched the movie. Why the fuck the inside of a black hole is a tesseract? But you know, in this case, because it's science fiction and no one really knows what's inside a black hole, you know, Christopher Nolan can make his own version of black hole if he wants to, which in this case is a fucking okay. It's a fucking tesseract, which is a four-dimensional universe. So it's like a portal into the fourth dimension, which is interesting. But it's also kind of like, you know what I mean? Because the idea of a black hole is it's a whole. I guess the key here to make this idea from science fiction into an actual science is that we need to invent a vehicle that can basically go at the speed of light or more. Actually, have to be more, because if just like cap at the speed of light, you're just gonna stuck in the black hole. But if you're gonna be faster than light, FTL, that's where you unlock the ability to traverse time and space. Faster than light. All this thinking make me hungry. Let me order something. You guys want anything else? Do I still want to get that fucking pizza? I don't think I can finish a whole pizza by myself. I don't think it's a good idea. No, that's what I was thinking, but when I thought about it again, I don't think it's a good idea. Omuraisu. Oh, let me just... Maybe just some rice bowl. How about that? Rice bowl is nice. But pizza is nicer. Actually depends. Oh, let me see if I can get a pizza. Mujigae. Domino's have some promo, but it's not even cheap. Yeah, it's too expensive for just myself. Oh, Pizza Hut. Do Pizza Hut even have any promo? Let me see.